Oh, hello and welcome. No point mentioning my name, you know who I am already, so can do away with the introductions now. Well, here I am. Um, some good news, some good news indeed. I mentioned yesterday, and it's a very short entry, that I went all the way over into Essex to get a flute. Actually, amazing. Somebody actually wanted to sell a person of colour a flute. And the even better news is today, a second person who who I can put this who told me more than once that it was reserved. The flute, nice looking instrument. What happened? I got a message this morning that the person who they'd reserved it for had let them down. Now, this is something that happens all the time. My dear mother used to say, the first water you come to, or the first river or spring you come to, you drink because you don't know where the next spring or water is going to be. But fair enough, she did the honourable thing. Somebody expressed an interest, and it seemed as if it was a done deal. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. So I thought, why not? Why not get a second one of a backup one, backup flute? So I did, and very lovely, slim young lady met me near my place of work, and we exchanged cash and flutes and some pleasantries, and that's it. So yeah, it's a good day. I wish work was similar. Had laptop trouble, computer laptop trouble today, which slowed me down, so I wasn't able to do my work as best as I could. So I worked a little bit later than I normally would on a Friday, and just made my way home. So I haven't been home long. So I just thought I'd do the entry before I did anything else. Unusually, I'm not sure. Well, British weather's unusual, but it's been fairly warm today, and I had a nice autumn overcoat on, so I was sweltering a bit. I did. It couldn't be bothered to take it off because I was carrying a flute. I was carrying my backpack with my assortment of things. Not my house, but it does feel like at times when I carry it around with me. But yeah, today could have been better. But the upside was that I got the flute I wanted, even though it came second. Uh, did a bit of travelling last night, as you know. Really didn't have time to kick back and relax. By the time I got home, as you can tell from the entry, I was kind of very flummoxed and a little bit stressed out. So I just kind of fell asleep where I kind of sat on the sofa really until I got myself together. I had a shower and then retired for the evening. That must have been about 2:30 when I finally did that. I got up slightly later than I normally did, and amazingly, I still managed to make it into work for just after 8 a.m. So, well, I did it anyway. I didn't bother with breakfast. I think I bought lunch on the way in, and I had that, and just watched some YouTube videos during my lunch break. I did put this on my Facebook. By a band called, what are they called now? The Love Affair. They had a big hit with a cover version of, you know what, I've even forgotten what the bloody song was. I was playing the video today. Anyway, it's on my Facebook page somewhere there. I thought it was the original. It wasn't. Hold on. Yeah, it's on Twitter. Put it on Twitter, and anything I put on Twitter goes automatically to my Facebook page, profile rather. So if you are a Facebook friend, you can see. Well, even if you're not, you can go on Twitter, and it's somewhere there. Oh yeah, The Love Affair, Everlasting Love. Believe a guy called Robert Knight did the original, but The Love Affair had a big hit with it around 1967 in the UK. Although the Robert Knight version did see light of day in the British chart around the early 70s. I think it was 72, 73, but I'm sure it's 72. Yeah, so I was kind of rerun that video. I wasn't actually watching it, but I was kind of listening because I'm kind of going through paperwork. I've got my headphones in and I'm listening. But it's a video that I don't think the British viewing public had seen unless they go onto go onto YouTube. The video is it's done in black and white. You see the singer. Well, I see the lead vocalist for the very first time. He's about 16 when he did that film. I think it was shot in Europe, and it was for maybe a German television, but it's shot in black and white, possibly 35mm film. And the amazing thing is, you got this lady she's not dressed up as a clown or anything, but she's kind of like a mime. And, she's kind of dancing around and doing stuff like that. I really love the video. It's fast become one of my all-time favorite videos, even if I was a little toddler when it when it was a big hit in '67. But I still look at the video every now and again. I love the song, so that kind of relieved some of my stress while I was working. Excuse me. Hay fever eyes. That is just around the corner. Sorry. Yeah, hay fever. Been suffering from it since I was 16 years old, and it shows no sign of going away. So I've got slightly itchy eyes at the moment. What else can I tell you about? Well, I'm going to go out and enjoy myself tomorrow. I've got some money left, so I'm going to go and see the film everybody's raving about, Avengers: Infinity War. Now, as a big Marvel Comics fan, I read DC, and I love DC Comics, but I was more geared towards Marvel. So, a lot of the Marvel studio movies that have come out and I've watched, I mean, I've read most of the stories anyway. Anyway, the movies are based on the source material, which is the comics, which were well written, which is why I think they translate to the screen very well. The characters in the comics were fairly well rounded out as individuals, people, and as a team, in ways that maybe DC wasn't. But then again, the whole Marvel thing, success comes from actually having to compete with DC, who had these pantheon of great heroes. But in many ways, when I read them when I was growing up, they seemed to be very one-dimensional until maybe not the early, but certainly around the mid-80s, when DC revamped its whole line, cancelled it out and started again, and did some interesting stories. But the funny thing is that DC movies have not been as successful critically as the Marvel have, and I think that's maybe because those heroes or superheroes are very kind of godlike. I mean, look, I've read DC Comics, man and boy, boy and man, if you will, and I enjoyed a lot of it. But my mainstay was really Marvel because the characters came across as people to me. I mean, certainly Peter Parker did. I could identify with him, even though I'm a black child growing up in Britain, and the character Peter Parker is based in New York, but he had money worries, and my parents and then my mother had those issues as well. So that's something I was very familiar with. And growing up as a child and a teenager, I identified with Peter Parker that much because he had his elderly aunt, who had to rely on. Now, knowing the movie Spider-Man Homecoming, his aunt is a far younger lady, and we don't know the stresses and pressures that she's under, because we've only seen one film, so she's looking out for a nephew, but we don't know if she's struggling. She doesn't seem to be struggling, just seems to be dealing with things, although her meatloaf apparently leaves a great deal to desire. But what am I talking about? About Spider-Man Homecoming and his aunt and her meatloaf. Well, it adds an extra dimension to the character, which you don't really see in any of the DC movies. I mean, the initial Superman movie with Christopher Reeve it's a classic. It really is, and Christopher Reeve does some great things in that movie, especially as Clark Kent, and this characterization. And in some ways, he does make Clark Kent three-dimensional person, but it hasn't stood the test of time. I think it doesn't. I mean, I have every respect for Christopher Reeve, but by the time you get to maybe the third movie, the characterization, how Clark looks, it's just not of the time. It fitted well in with the 70s, and even then he was awkward, which he was meant to be. But by the 1980s, you want to see something dynamic, and we kind of had to wait until the 1990s when Dean Cain did the role and did some great things. He played the character played American football at college. Dean Cain, he did work. He did try out for the Buffalo Bills, and I think he got in, but he had an injury, so that ended his NFL career. So, yeah, Dean Cain pretty much fitted in with the time. Not, okay, Henry Cavill in Man of Steel did a great job, but we haven't really seen that much of Clark Kent. Oh, well, okay, we see him on his journey to becoming Superman, even if it's done in flashback in some sequences. But it would be good to see how he's moved on. Okay, you got Batman versus Superman, you know, but we see Clark in that, but we don't really see a great deal of him, how he lives and what he does. It's those little things that add some dimension to the character. But I really got onto this subject. It's something I'm passionate about. I don't read comics anymore. Well, why would I? Films and TV shows have been made of them, so that's where I get my fix. I've got to watch Supergirl. I've got to watch Arrow, DC Legends of Tomorrow. Of the three, that's probably my least favorite, but because it ties in with the previous two shows and the Flash as well, which I love. I watch it. There are some interesting things, but characters change too often. But then it's time travel, isn't it? Right, yeah. So, like I said, I got onto this subject because I'm going to see Avengers Infinity War. I've booked the ticket. There's no going back. So early night, early rise, as it's showing around 10 in the morning or something like that, or at least the doors will open at 10. So yeah, I'll be getting up early and going to see that. Will I give a review? I could give you a review now because I know pretty much what the story is about, or at least I can speculate what the story is about because I haven't watched it. I'm disappointed that I missed Black Panther, but it doesn't seem to be on any streaming services, if you know what I mean. So I might just get the DVD and watch it. Don't have access to paid movie channels like over here at Sky Movies or Sky Movies, and they do several movie channels. But because I can watch the films via other sources, be it the cinema DVD or anything else streaming, it's a waste of money to be spending that, so I don't bother anymore. Speaking of money, I've done my guitar thing, getting a camera, professional camera. I can't do movies on it, it's an old camera, but I can do professional things because photography is something I'm interested in, and I've done everything I can do on a smartphone. The only drawback with getting that camera is that the gentleman sold the lenses when he upgraded to a new one, so now I've got to look for lenses for a Nikon D2H, and I've looked on Amazon, and they're like, depending on what I want, it can go from 200 to 300 to up to £600. Now, here I'm taking a bit of an advantage that loads of people are watching this. I don't know if loads of people watch it, but if you happen to live in the London area and you have Nikon camera lenses that will fit a Nikon, or are compatible rather with a Nikon D2H, please drop me a line. It could be at let's see now, it's all one word, DanielJudeGennis@gmail.com or DanielJude.Gennis@hotmail.co.uk. Again, I'm all over social media, so you can get hold of me via let's see now, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. What else? God, I'm all over the place. So yeah. So again, I say, if you are watching this and you're in the London area and you're a photographer, or you have an interest in photography, and you have a lens, camera lens, and it's more likely to be a Nikon lens, that is compatible with a Nikon D2H, then I'd like to hear for you. I'm limited in what I can actually pay, but asking for a few £100 and several £100 for a camera lens is not on. I'm looking for bargain. I'm bargain shopping because my resources are not infinite. Well, after buying several guitars and a couple of flutes, well, that's not too surprising. And as my work contract comes to an end at the end of the month, I'm busy job hunting for the next contract. So, yeah, so as I said, anybody out there can help me out on that, my last request, I'd be only too glad to hear from you. So, until maybe tomorrow, when we do this all over again, I'll update you on certain things. Okay, so take care of yourself and be good to each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye for now.